So in last lecture, we already studied the glycolysis pathway, pentose phosphate pathway, and RAP cycle. So today we are going to start the gluconeogenesis. So basically, if we break the word gluco, neo, and genesis, so gluco is means the glucose, neo is means new, and genesis is the meaning is synthesizing something. Okay, so we are basically synthesizing here a new molecule of the glucose. So this whole pattern, the gluconeogenesis, in this we have to generate the glucose. But this synthesis of glucose have to be done by a different method. That's why we call them the gluconeogenesis. What happened in a normal case? There is a formation of the glucose will be happen by the carbohydrate compound. Okay, so basically when this a new kind of glucose will be synthesizing, like the synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate compound is known as gluconeogenesis. What happened at normal condition? We are synthesizing the glucose by the carbohydrate. That is a normal process, and we can do that by the, you can see the glycolysis pathway, pentose phosphate pathway. If these normal pathway can be followed for the formation of glucose from the carbohydrates. But if we wanted to make a glucose, but we don't want the help from the carbohydrate, okay? We don't want carbohydrate to involve for the formation of glucose. At that time, the pathway which we follow for obtaining the glucose, that is a gluconeogenesis. So this is a very simple definition. You have to remember that whenever the glucose is formed from non-carbohydrate compound, that process is known as gluconeogenesis. So the major substrate and precursor for gluconeogenesis. So what are the things by which we can basically produce the glucose if we are not using carbohydrate here? So what are the things we have to use to produce them? Then you have to see lactate, pyruvate, glucogenic amino acid, propionate, and glycerol. So these all molecules you can use to synthesize the new glucose that is not derived from the carbohydrate. And now you will see that these lactate, pyruvate, and this propionate, glycerol, they are all the intermediate or final product of glycolysis, pentose phosphate pathway, and Krebs cycle. So now this gluconeogenesis, basically this work on the combination of all the pathway which we already studied. So basically for happening of gluconeogenesis, all the pathway have to be done earlier, then only the gluconeogenesis happen inside our body. Now we will see here what are the sites of the gluconeogenesis. Means at what place this gluconeogenesis happens inside our body. So basically mainly occurs in the liver and lesser extent in the renal cortex. So renal cortex is like kidney. Okay, just like there is 60% of the whole process of gluconeogenesis that happens inside the liver. It's almost 39% happens inside the kidney, and 1%, and very rare, sometime it also can happen inside the intestine. So you have to remember these three are the site where gluconeogenesis can be take place. Very first in the liver, second one is the kidney, and third one is the intestine. But majorly where most of the gluconeogenesis happen, that is inside the liver. The pathway is partially mitochondrial and partially cytoplasmic. Now, if we see, these are the organ in which gluconeogenesis happen. If we wanted to see at what part of a cell this gluconeogenesis happens, so in a particular cell, mitochondria majorly happens inside the mitochondria and partially cytoplasmic, means that can be happen either in the mitochondrial or either it can be the cytoplasmic. Both the site have to be followed to complete the gluconeogenesis process, mitochondria and cytoplasm. About 1 kg glucose synthesized every day. whatever the things we eat, by these things we can synthesize around 1 kg of glucose every day. So this is a lot of process and cycle our body have to perform to consume that glucose. And if we cannot consume that glucose, then they will be stored as the glycogen. So if we are doing taking a very little glucose and every day it is has to be used, that is the normal glucose our body is used. But if our body have excess amount of glucose in that, and now they have to store that glucose. So storage of that glucose happens in the form of glycogen. So basically, we can say that the glycogen is a storage version of glucose. Okay, if we are using sugar, that is glucose. If we are storing sugar, that is a glycogen. Or this whole process is about how we can make the glucose from the stored glycogen. So this whole process is mostly reverse of the glycolysis. Whatever the cycles or whatever the reaction you can see in the glycolysis pathway, gluconeogenesis is just opposite to that. Most of the reaction is just opposite to the glycolysis pathway. Now the importance of gluconeogenesis, why this gluconeogenesis happens inside our body. So brain, central nervous system, erythrocyte, testes, kidney, medulla are dependent on glucose for continuous supply for energy. So our brain works 24 into 7. Okay, all the time our brains work. Same the central nervous system. Erythrocytes, our body blood, testes, kidney, all the time we have to work on these organs, and these organs basically need energy in the form of glucose every time. We cannot stop the supply of glucose to these organs, otherwise they stop working. So human brain alone requires about 120 gram of glucose per day. So our brain, because the main whole soul function has been done by our brain, so that's why they need a large amount of energy. You can even see if you do a little mental task, like if something is taking so much brain energy, then you will start feeling hungry. So why you are feeling hungry? Because the brain consumes so much energy. So that's why we need to take a proper diet to have a glucose level will be balanced. So out of 160 gram needed by the entire body, now you can see that the only you can see only brain of the human brain get the 120 gram of the glucose per day out of about 160 gram needed by the entire body. So entire body do not need that kind of energy as a human brain require. So some people say the physical task is not tiring as comparison to the mental task. If you are doing some job that is mentally is very high, then the person will be getting more tired as comparison to the person doing the physical task. Physical tiredness do not need that much energy because it was consuming from muscles, and muscles do not need the glucose there. Muscles need protein there, but the brain, they need the glucose to work out their activities. So glucose is the only source that supply to the skeletal muscles, anaerobic condition. So that source, glucose, that also be supplied to the skeletal muscles. Okay, skeletal muscles which perform the function on the command of central nervous system, and also some anaerobic condition. Anaerobic means where oxygen is not present. At that condition also, glucose basically provide the energy to happen certain functions. During starvation, gluconeogenesis maintain the blood glucose levels. The most important work of the gluconeogenesis happen when we are starved. Means if suppose we are on fasting, okay, we cannot eat something. So at that time, our blood sugar level become low because we are not eating anything. So at that time, gluconeogenesis start their work. So that's why the research said the fat people can live longer on the starvation as compared to the thin people, because the gluconeogenesis, that glycogen, that basically stored in the form of fatty tissue, adipose tissue, glycogen. So that's why when a people have to be on starvation process, their stored glycogen will be basically forming the glucose, and that do the essential process of the body. So this stored glycogen is depleted within the first 12-18 hours of the fasting. So they start depletion, and if they are seeing that if the food will become, they will be do the normal glucose formation process, but they waited for like 12 hours. If they are not food which is coming to them, they start the glycogen start depleting and making the glucose for the body. On prolonged starvation, the gluconeogenesis is speed up and protein catabolism provides the substrate, namely glucogenic amino acid. Now, when the starvation is long, like if someone is on fasting like 2 days, 4 days, and they didn't eat anything by the 4 days or 3 days, at that time, protein also not getting inside the body. So what happened? Glyconeogenesis is speeded up. They work very fastly and they even make the proteins also. At that time, when gluconeogenesis is forming the protein inside our body, that are called as the glucogenic amino acids. Amino acids are the building block of proteins. Okay, so if the glycogen is making the protein and forming these amino acids, so we can easily call them the glucogenic amino acids. So I think you all know why the gluconeogenesis is very needed inside our body. Now we will see the what are the reaction which come under the gluconeogenesis pathway. So gluconeogenesis very closely resemble the reserve pathway of glycolysis. So glycolysis pathway and gluconeogenesis pathway, they are not very different. There are not much difference between these two pathways. The three irreversible steps of glycolysis are catalyzed by the three enzymes. Now, what happened in the gluconeogenesis? There was three irreversible steps that place in the glycolysis pathway. So these three irreversible means they cannot be reversed. So these three reversible pathway or step of the glycolysis, now in gluconeogenesis reaction, they will be catalyzed by three enzymes, and they are the hexokinases, PFK, that is a protein fructokinases, pyruvate kinases. So see, these are the three very basic kind of enzymes which are needed for the gluconeogenesis process. These three stages bypassed by alternate enzymes specific to gluconeogenesis. Now we have to see what are the three stages that bypass the alternate enzyme specific for the gluconeogenesis. First, pyruvate carboxylase, phosphophenol pyruvate carboxykinase, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, and glucose 6-phosphate. Now we all need these four stages, these three, basically three intermediate and four stages we have to go through for the gluconeogenesis process. Now conversion of the glucose pyruvate to phosphophenol pyruvate. If you remember the whole glycolysis pathway, the pyruvate was the product of the glycolysis pathway. You can see by the diagram here. Yes. This was the whole glycolysis, okay? If the glucose conversion into 6-phosphate, fructose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, 1,3-bisphosphate, these all 10 reactions lead to the formation of pyruvate. This is the normal glycolysis pathway. But if we do a opposite rectangle here, now from the pyruvate to, now we need these three things: pyruvate carboxylase and phosphophenol pyruvate carboxykinase. These two things with oxaloacetate. Now, where we got this oxaloacetate? This is we will be got from from here. We learned the Krebs cycle. Okay, Krebs cycle. In the Krebs cycle, this is a product of the whole Krebs cycle. Okay, oxaloacetate. So oxaloacetate from this and pyruvate from here, from the glycolysis pathway, we need two products. First product of the glycolysis, that is pyruvate. Okay. Second product is the oxaloacetate, that is a product of the Krebs cycle. Now, in the combination of this pyruvate and oxaloacetate, okay, both the combined version with several enzymes will start the gluconeogenesis. So now all we have to do what? Oxaloacetate, we got it from the Krebs cycle. Now we are having the pyruvate here. Now we are having two enzymes here, pyruvate carboxylase and PEP carboxykinase. Now what they do? Okay, so we are having all the three things: oxaloacetate, pyruvate, and both these two enzymes, PEP carboxykinase and pyruvate carboxylase. Now what happened? With all these two enzymes and with these two substrated, we are having the 4 carbon number here. Okay, 2 pyruvates, so 2 carbon number here, two pyruvates are here. So basically we are having the 4 carbon number. Each pyruvate having 2 carbon stages, and this is a 2 pyruvate, that's why we are having the 4 carbon number here. And after that we are having this oxaloacetate. Now this situation led us to having 6 carbon number inside the whole activity. Now they directly enter to this phase, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, these measuring irreversible step, they cannot be come under the gluconeogenesis process. Only those steps which are irreversible, means they cannot be reversed back, only they can become under the gluconeogenesis. So following these steps, that they are having the Mark II. Okay, glyceraldehyde. Only we wanted to this step, but we don't want the bisphosphonate, phosphoglycerate state, phosphoglyceride 2 stage. So we don't want these steps. Just the gluconeogenesis step forward from this direction to directly here. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So now from this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, we need another enzyme to go through the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. That will be happen here by the dihydroxyacetane phosphate. Okay, this basic enzyme we need to convert this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate into the fructose 1,6 biphosphate. Now there will be another enzyme, fructose 1,6 biphosphatase. Here you have what in the normal glycolysis pathway, you need this fructokinase 1 to convert them here. But now we have to convert into the phosphate. So what we need? Fructose 1,6 biphosphatase. So basically this fructose 1,6 biphosphatase convert this fructose 1,6 biphosphatase to the fructose 6 phosphate. There is only ase difference. You can see here. They are just the enzyme suffix which is added here. There is no other different in the enzyme and the substrate. So enzyme and substrate, just they are having this suffix here by phosphatase, or the substrate was fructose 1,6 biphosphate. Now this conversion will lead to the fructose 6 phosphate formation, and after with the help of one more enzyme, phosphohexose isomerase, that will be converted into the glucose 6 phosphate, and with the help of glucose 6 phosphatase we will be getting the glucose here. So this is our main goal. What we wanted to found the glucose, and by all these reactions, reverse reaction of the glycolysis. So you don't have to remember whenever you wanted to study these cycle, you just have to go through the Krebs cycle and glycolysis cycle. If you go through well with the glycolysis and Krebs cycle, the gluconeogenesis pathway will be easy for you, because all you remember have to just 3 or 4 enzymes here or 2 enzymes here. Only the enzyme name you have to be remember, otherwise the same substrate positions are present here. One more difference here, these all the reaction are reduction reactions, these all are the oxidation reaction. Why? Because they are breaking something, that's why they are the reduction division, but they are forming something, so that's why they are the oxidation reaction. So all these reaction is oxidation, and these all glycolysis reactions are the reduction division. Now we will see the theoretical part, how they are conversion from one position to another. So we already see these, how they are helping us: pyruvate carboxylase, phosphophenyl pyruvate carboxykinase, fructose 1,6-biphosphate, and glucose 6-phosphatase. So these are the basic enzyme which we use in that gluconeogenesis pathway. So now this first step, when we have to convert pyruvate to phosphophenol pyruvate, that is happen in the 2 steps. Pyruvate carboxylase is a biotin-dependent mitochondrial enzyme that convert pyruvate to the oxaloacetate in presence of ATP and CO2. So basically what we need in the very first step, we need 1 ATP and carbon dioxide to happen all the situation for conversion of pyruvate to the phosphophenyl pyruvate. So this enzyme basically regulate gluconeogenesis, means this is the very first step from which the gluconeogenesis start, and they require acetyl CoA for its activity. And this acetyl CoAe, where we get it? We get it from the Krebs cycle. Now the oxaloacetate is synthesized in the mitochondrial matrix as a result of the Krebs cycle. It has to be transferred to the cytosol, and due to membrane impermeability, oxaloacetate cannot diffuse out of the mitochondria. But it has to be transported to the cytosol. Mostly this Krebs cycle and this glycolysis pathway, they happen inside the cytosol. Okay, so this this glycolysis happens inside the cytosol, but the Krebs cycle happens inside the mitochondria. But what happens in these cases? They have to be passed on to the cytosol for the further implementation, but they cannot pass through the mitochondria because of the cell membrane impermeability. So now it is converted to malate transport to the cytosol. Now what we have to do, we needed it to be go past through to that mitochondrial membrane. So that's why we convert them into the malate substance. Now for this malate synthesis, they in the cytosol, oxaloacetate is regenerated. Now we have to convert it into the malate, but we don't need malate. So again we have to regenerate the oxaloacetate from the malate inside the cytosol. I know it's a little confusion, but I will clear them all by one. So the reversible conversion of the oxaloacetate to malate is catalyzed by MDH and present in mitochondria and cytosol. So both this conversion and both this formation of these cycles, they are just happens in the 2 cell organelles, mitochondria and cytosol. So in the cytosol, phosphophenol pyruvate carboxylase convert oxaloacetate to phosphophenol pyruvate. In the cytosol, we finally get what we want. We want to get the oxaloacetate, and we converted them into the phosphophenol pyruvate. This is all we want in a very first reaction, that the pyruvate have to be converted into the phosphophenol pyruvate. Now all this in this reaction, GTP or ITP, not ATP, GTP or ITP, they used in this reaction, and carbon dioxide is liberated. Now the source of energy is used as a GTP, not ATP used here. For the conversion of pyruvate to phosphophenol pyruvate, 2 ATP equivalent are utilized. So mostly it's like GTP which are requiring here for this reaction. They are like the 2 ATP which has been used here. Now in second reaction, we have to see the conversion of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. How it will be done? In this whole position, just you have to remember the one regulatory enzyme, and that is the fructose 1,6 biphosphatase. Okay, by only this enzyme, that is written in pink, fructose 1,6 biphosphatase. This is the key enzyme, and with the help of magnesium ion. Okay, this in this reaction, you just have to remember two things: the only enzyme fructose 1,6 biphosphate and the additional ion, that is magnesium ion, they both have the potential to convert the fructose 1,6 biphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. Now we are having the fructose 6 phosphate. Now what we have to do, we have to convert fructose 6 phosphate to the glucose. That is our final thing. That is our final product we want here. So in this reaction, we need the glucose 6 phosphatase. Okay, this is the enzyme we need here. Glucose 6 phosphatase catalyze the conversion of glucose 6 phosphate to glucose. It is present in liver and kidney, but absent in muscle, brain, and adipose tissue. But they are present in liver and kidney. That's why we can do this gluconeogenesis process in these tissue, not in the muscle, brain, or adipose side. So the liver can replenishes blood sugar through the gluconeogenesis process, and in this case whole glucose 6 phosphate is present mainly in liver. So that's why we can obtain the glucose from the glucose 6 phosphate only in the liver area, because this whole substrate is present only in the liver area. So this is already been discussed. These are the phases which I told you, like conversion here. Fructose 1,6 biphosphate to the fructose 6 phosphate. Then from the fructose 6 phosphate to the glucose 6 phosphate, and the final glucose 6 phosphate to the glucose. This is the major key process of the gluconeogenesis. They are the last one, like the pyruvate. This is the first step here, and this is the second step. Okay, if we convert them into the two steps, so this will be the pyruvate to the phosphophenol pyruvate. This is the very first reaction which happened inside the gluconeogenesis, and this is the second reaction. Now this was all about till now what we studied, that how we can form the glucose from the glycolysis pathway. Now there are several other ways by which we can get the glucose. Okay, so these are the things like carbon skeleton of glucogenic amino acid result in the formation of pyruvate or intermediate of the citric acid cycle. So not only by the glycolysis pathway we can get the pyruvate, but also some other things like this carbon skeleton of glucogenic amino acid, they will also result in the formation of the pyruvate. So that's why from which ultimately they can to result in the glucose, because we just seen how we can convert the pyruvate into the glucose. So same from these amino acids we can convert them to the glucose. You can see here this urea. Amino acids, they can be with the help of these align and NH3, they can be converted into the pyruvate, and this is the normal process happen inside the muscle. It goes to pyruvate to align to amino acid NH3, and then again we can make the glucose. So in the liver, what we get from the same this process which followed to form the amino acids here, same from these amino acids we can convert that process to make the glucose here. Alanine, then pyruvate, and then the formation of glucose. This is called as the glucose-alanine cycle. When the alanine, the enzyme alanine is responsible for the formation of the glucose from amino acids, this process is called the glucose-alanine cycle, and they require three things: liver, blood, and muscle. This cannot be done inside a single body of the animal, but they have to be present in three areas: liver, blood, and muscles. Now the next thing, gluconeogenesis from glycerol. There are another component, glycerol, is also liberated when hydrolysis of the triglyceride happens. So the triglycerol, that is also Krebs cycle, basically intermediate position of the Krebs cycle. After having so many dehydrogenation reaction, we can also get the glucose from these. We do not have to go through in very detailed version. We just can go through with the diagram, because this is not we have to study. Our main focus was how we can obtain the glucose with the main process, and that was the glycolysis reverse process. Now you can also just take a overview of these all things, like how the TGL basically involved the formation of the glucose. Now this is a TGL that basically synthesizes the fatty acid. When we studied the fatty acid, we know that TGL is a kind of derived fatty acid. So this lipid basically that convert into the fatty acid, and this is converted into the glycerol. And this is happen inside a adipocyte, means the adipose cells. This all process happen. Now this triglyceride convert into the glycerol. Now this glycerol will be go into the liver cell. Why they are all going to the liver cell? Because one substrate, glucose 6-phosphate, that present inside the liver. That's why all the things have to be come to the liver to make the glucose. That's why everything, whatever it is, blood, brain, muscles, any component can be present anywhere. But formation of glucose, they have to come to the liver, because one very key thing, you can say the key of formation of glucose, they are having it with the liver, glucose 6-phosphate. This is present inside the liver. That's why everything have to go to the liver to form that kind of glucose. Now the glycerol, there will be converted into glycerol phosphate, and they will be converted to the DHAP, that is the hydrogenate apical molecule for the fructose 6-phosphate. Now they will be converted into the glucose. So this way also we can make the glucose inside the liver. Next here, glucogenesis from propionate. Basically propionate or propionyl CoA. They are the 3-carbon structure, and this is basically we can get it by the oxidation of odd chain of fatty acid and breakdown of some amino acid. So if we do the oxidation of fatty acid and breakdown of amino acid, they are the two different things. They will yield in a 3-carbon propionyl CoA. And this propionyl CoA carboxylase act on this in the presence of ATP and biotin and convert to methylmalonyl CoA. That is whole process that is derived from the Krebs cycle, like the oxidation and reduction. Both the reaction happen in that Krebs cycle only. So these oxidation and reduction reaction will be leading to the formation of malonyl CoA, which is then converted into succinyl CoA. You can see this succinyl CoA. This succinyl CoA can also convert it into the oxaloacetate and form the normal glucose pathway. So now here, this succinyl CoA in the presence of B12. Now the succinyl CoA formed from propionyl CoA enter to the gluconeogenesis. So you can see these can be a substrate also. Okay, these also can induce the gluconeogenesis process. So in this case also we can got a glucose molecule in the presence of Krebs cycle. Now we can also gluconeogenesis from lactate also, and if the gluconeogenesis happen from the lactate, that is called the Cori cycle. This is also very important in the case of gluconeogenesis to study the Cori cycle. So how the Cori cycle work? Basically, this is possessed. Glucose is converted to the lactate in the muscle, and in the liver, this lactate is reconverted to the glucose. Normally happen, the glucose is converted into the lactate that happen in the muscle, and that lactate will be reconverted into the glucose that happen inside the liver. I already told you formation of the glucose is only happen inside the liver, not any other place. So in an actively contracting muscle, pyruvate is reduced to lactic acid, which may tend to accumulate the muscle. So normally what happened here, the pyruvate, which was a result of the glycolysis that reduced to lactic acid, and lactic accumulation utilized in the Cori cycle. I will show you the diagram. These are the basic scientists, they're the husband and wife, Carl Cori and Jeffrey Cori. They formed this cycle. That's why this cycle name after them, the Cori cycle. So this you can see here, the glucose. Firstly, glucose come into the muscle. Okay, this muscle, they reduce ATP, form pyruvate and lactate. Basically, this lactate is function for the muscle. So now when this lactate is go again in the liver and do the whole process again, the NADPH again release here. And here what happened in the muscle process, like one NAD release, but it have to be just opposite to this process. There will be one NADH will be reduced, lactate will convert it into the pyruvate, pyruvate again will be converted into the glucose. So in this cycle, in first stage we are getting this lactate from the glucose. In second cycle in liver we will be getting the glucose from the lactate. So this whole cycle is basically for obtaining the lactate, and reversely we can get the glucose here. So this whole process is known as the Cori cycle. This is also important in the when we study about gluconeogenesis formation. So we can also study about their formation. This is reciprocal regulation. In the if we talk about the regulation of gluconeogenesis, so basically gluconeogenesis and glycolysis, they are reciprocal regulated, means just opposite to each other. One pathway is relatively inactive when the other is active. If they cannot be worked simultaneously or same time at a time. If the glyconeogenesis happen inside our body, glucose did not take place. If the glucose happening inside our body, glycogenesis does not take place. Okay, so only one of them can be take place at a time. Regulatory enzyme, pyruvate carboxylase, fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, ATP, hormonal regulation. So these all the things we are needed for the regulation of gluconeogenesis. Also the pyruvate carboxylase enzyme, this is very important thing to activate acetyl CoA. If there is no activation of acetyl CoA, then there will be no formation of gluconeogenesis take place. Fructose 1,6 phosphatase, we are talking about the enzymes here which used in gluconeogenesis. They are also important. Why? Because citrate is an activator. So this activate all the activity to the formation of the fructose 6 phosphate by the enhanced ATP. Okay, this gluconeogenesis is basically governed by the ATP, and this whole enzyme, they basically help them to get the ATP formation. Hormone regulation of C, the glycogen and glucocorticoid increase gluconeogenesis. So these are the two hormones which help the gluconeogenesis process. If one is glucogen and second is glucocorticoids. So these are the two hormones which basically needed at the time of gluconeogenesis. Some factors which help here. The high glucagon-insulin ratio favors induction of synthesis of gluconeogenesis. So this situation also favors the gluconeogenesis in the body. That if the glucagon-insulin ratio will be high, that means insulin have to be high and glucagon have to be high. If both the things are high, then gluconeogenesis take place inside the body. But at the same time, synthesis of glycolytic enzyme like HK, PFK, PKR should be depressed. This is the hormonal regulation you can see. glucose to the pyruvate, that is gluconeogenesis, glucose to the pyruvate, that is glycolysis. They add up the insulin, and they need these glucogen, glucocorticols, or minus insulin. These are the hormone regulation at the time of the glucose formation from the pyruvate. Insulin gets reduced because it is used. Glucocorticoids and glucogen, they are enhanced when the gluconeogenesis happens. So I think this is all about the gluconeogenesis. So summary is that gluconeogenesis is basically the reverse process of glycolysis, and through gluconeogenesis we make the glucose from the pyruvate or any non-carbohydrate component. If any non-carbohydrate component making glucose from their existing body, that process will be known as a gluconeogenesis. So it can be several steps which can be added in this phenomena to make the glucose. So there are some questions you can go through for understanding, like gluconeogenesis is used for which type of metabolism, and where does gluconeogenesis mainly occur? Okay, where does gluconeogenesis mainly occur inside our body?
Ma'am,
Mitochondria, okay, and
mitochondria.
cytosol also, but cytosol have a little less part. Cytoplasmic body have a little less part, but mainly in the mitochondria. We study na partial mitochondria, partial is cytoplasmic. So most of the part is done by the mitochondria, which possess share the same pathway as gluconeogenesis, but in opposite direction. The same thing, but the opposite direction. Which pathway?
Ma'am, glycolysis.
Yes, glycolysis का just opposite है gluconeogenesis. From where is lactate generate? Glucose, fructose, pyruvate, or PEP?
Ma'am, glucose.
Yes, glucose, but we have to need a pyruvate in between them. If you remember the Cori cycle, the middle in the muscle region, glucose will be converted into the pyruvate, and pyruvate will be converted into the lactate. So basically, lactate generate will be the pyruvate. Match the following. So we leave it. Which tissue form the glycerol? Glycerol. What do you think? Which one is a fatty acid tissue? Glycerol will be formed in the adipose.
Ma'am, it's adipose.
Which one of the following is precursor of gluconeogenesis? Precursor. Start the gluconeogenesis basically.
Ma'am, lactase.
All of them. Glycerol, lactate, intermediate of TCA cycle. We study now all the things can be a precursor of the gluconeogenesis. So from anywhere, from lactate, from glycerol, from any intermediate like succinyl CoA, TCA cycle, they can be initiate the gluconeogenesis. Which enzyme catalyzes the conversion of pyruvate to oxaloacetate? Which enzyme convert the pyruvate to oxaloacetate?
Ma'am,
Phosphophenol pyruvate. Phosphophenol pyruvate kinase. Okay, that converted to the oxaloacetate. When is glyconeogenesis inhibited? Means when the glyconeogenesis reduce.
Ma'am, in exercise, low level
Low level of insulin.
minus
Minus insulin then there will be the less ability to the gluconeogenesis. Even exercise, long starvation, they basically enhance the glyconeogenesis. Okay, these are the reference you can go through with that also. Any other problem? If we don't
No,
understand
ma'am.
anything.